4 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order of the Kerrville Economic Improvement Corporation. Have any volunteers for the invocation?
I'll pray us in.
Thank you, sir.
Join me in prayer. Oh, Father God, we are your children, and as your children, we certainly need your direction and advice and counsel, and we pray for that today. Be with us. Help us to make good decisions. Help us be compassionate and fair, and just be with this world, Father. We need you more than ever. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Do we have anybody signed up to speak today?
No, sir.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the July 18th, 2022 meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, that passes unanimously. All right, so we'll move on to our monthly reports. First one is the Kerr Economic Development Corporation report. I believe Gil's out of town, and we get the pleasure of having Teresa with us.
Thank you. So as some of you might be aware, we were presented the opportunity to attend this year's Farnborough International Air Show. It's the first one that they've had since 2018, so we were excited to be able to participate this year. We accompanied Killdeer Mountain Manufacturing just as an advocate and a liaison for them. They did have a space at the Texas office of the governor's booth. So again, we were just really excited to be able to participate in that. In that booth, there were about 7 businesses, along with the two representatives from the Office of the Governor, Joe Magruder and James Chen. So this is just a picture of the group that was there. Unfortunately, Kristen was actually at a meeting, and so she didn't get it to be in this picture. So, but again, a good group of people, and we were really excited to be able to have the opportunity to utilize that booth as well for meetings and make some connections. One of the connections that we made was actually with the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronauts. So it's a membership organization, and they were the ones that were in charge of setting up meet and greets, as well as touring the static aircraft display there. And so it was really exciting to be able to connect with them, and that allowed us the opportunity to take representatives from the Office of the Governor to tour those planes. So it just happened that the majority of the ones that we got to see, got to climb inside of, sit in the cockpit, they all had some component from Killdeer Mountain Manufacturing, which was just a really cool experience to know that a company that is now here in Killdeer or in Kerrville manufacturing parts, that they are on those planes. So, of course, the 777 was one of the highlights of the event. They did a show with test pilots that were flying these aircrafts like you've never seen them flown before. Definitely not how you would want to ride in them as a passenger. I do have clips of those videos. If anybody is interested in seeing those, I'd be happy to send you the links for them. It was a really, just a really cool display. So like I said, we were, the Office of the Governor in the state of Texas was one of 17 states that were represented in the United States. There were over 48 countries that were there at the show, and it was about 1,500 exhibitors and 80,000 visitors from 112 countries. So just a really phenomenal opportunity to meet people from all over the world and make some connections that were extremely meaningful. One other stat that is really neat is that there was 192 billion orders announced from that, and a large, very large portion of that was actually from Boeing's sales. So some of the opportunities that we had to meet one-on-one, we met with Boeing, of course, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon. Jana was at our booth, and so we had the opportunity to have lots of great conversations with them, as well as, kind of crazy enough, a connection was made with Western Sydney University. So there's some opportunities there for us to be able to connect to our local universities and some of our manufacturers with programs that they offer in Australia. And the AIAA. That was just a great opportunity and conversation. One of the ones that I was really interested in, and one of the sessions I got to sit in on, was with Space Forge, which is a UK-based company, and they're actually doing manufacturing in space. And so it was just a really cool session to see how manufacturing is taking place now out in space and all of the opportunities that that presents for companies to be involved in that.
What are they making in space?
So they're making parts of the circuit boards. So anything that has to be kept in a very controlled environment, right? So no, where we would have to create a very sealed environment to make that. You know, space actually gives that environment without much cost, aside from getting the product up and then getting it back. That's one of the things that they're working on now, is the payloads and how they get it back safely once they've manufactured in space. So controlled environment manufacturing that needs to take place where you can't have certain chemical reactions. So all of that space kind of takes all of that away. So really, really unique presentation. Like I said, one of the things that we got to see was the Boeing versus the Airbus. We got to see that in flight. Those test pilots just did an incredible job with that. But also, this was pulled from Simplifying News right after the air show, as far as who actually won, right? So who had the most planes sold, and that was definitely Boeing. And that happened very early on with most of the purchases coming from Delta Airlines. So that concludes my report for the International Air Show. I'm happy to answer any questions, or like I said, obviously provide links so that you guys can see some of the videos from that. I do have some more updates, but I just wanted to pause here if you had any questions.
Questions? All right. Thanks.
So in June of 2022, we did see an increase in unemployment rate. It did go up to 3.7%, but we're still at pre-pandemic levels. And we anticipate that to continue as seasonal hiring comes up for Christmas. We do expect that the unemployment rate will go down again. We also received information from a national rent study that there was a 50% increase in national rent prices, which I'm sure is not surprising to anybody. But so now with that, it brings rent prices for a 2-2 apartment at about $2,000 nationally. So again, I don't think it's anything we haven't heard. But KMM currently is at 60 employees and continuing to hire. We're really excited about that number and continuing to help them with their recruitment efforts. We were also an exhibitor at the Chamber of Commerce Expo last Saturday. It was extremely well attended. We got to have many opportunities to not only talk with businesses that were also there, but just residents coming by asking about economic development. So again, just a great way to kind of inform the public on who we are and what we do for the community.
What was the attendance? Do you know? How many people?
I don't know. I would have to ask Brad to give us an update on the number, but I can just say from being there from last year and this year, obviously there was a much greater attendance this year. Last year, unfortunately, that was right in the middle of a COVID spike, and so attendance was definitely down. But I wasn't there for the first Friday wine share, but people told me that it was just packed. And that's really how it was on Saturday as well, with just lots of people coming by. And great representation from our business community as well. The Business and Innovation Forum is set for October 27th. We do have 2 confirmed speakers at the moment. One is Dr. Craig Trotter from Texas A&M, and the other is Sebastian Garzon, and he is the founder and investor for Alamo Angels Network. So we're still looking for 2 additional speakers this year. Our format's going to be a little bit different. We will be hosting it at Schreiner University in conjunction with the Office of the Governor. They're going to be doing the morning sessions that are going to be more breakout sessions geared towards finance opportunities, marketing, workforce. And then our portion in the afternoon, we'll have 4 speakers, more like a TED style talk And then, so that will take from about noon until about 4, and then we'll have a networking event after that. We have concluded all of our submissions for Top 40. The recipients for this year have been notified that they are getting that award this year. We won't be making formal announcements for that and who those people are on that list until probably mid-October, just a little bit in advance of that event in November. And that's all I have right now.
Thank you. All right, next item on our agenda is the EIC project status update.
Members of the board, thank y'all for taking the time today. There isn't too much. I was on the phone with Kyle just a little while ago before we got in here and asked him to give me his take on all 4 of these items here. Number 1, the Tranquility Island electrical infrastructure. Everything's done. It's completed. The last piece that he is still working on is at the state level, trying to get the easement from the general land office. So that's probably going to take a little while. We're just at the mercy of the state's response at that point. So once we get that back, that whole thing should be done and wrapped up. I'm gonna, let's see, the airport improvement portion. So we're at the permitting stage with their plans, but they're kind of still working towards finalizing every piece. It's just trying to maximize every dollar on their project to get as many hangars in as they can for that airport project. So we're kind of just having staff discussions with them, going back and forth, but should be breaking ground, should be moving along pretty soon on that one. The Killdeer Mountain Manufacturing, obviously I don't need to speak to how amazing that is, that at the largest air show in the world, representative from Kerrville was standing at 2 representatives from Kerrville were standing at the booth, just talking Kerrville up and minimizing every other city in the entire state and just saying come to Kerrville. No, that is just a fantastic thing, and I don't think I can speak more to that. Killdeer has closed on their project, or closed on their loan, thanks not in small part to several members of the board working on the contract, and then to y'all agreeing to that modification to their plans. So they've got subcontractors in our permitting office that are ready to go, so we should be getting started with that project as fast as we can get, because it sounds like there's going to be a lot of orders coming in. Last but not least, Peterson Medical Campus. They're probably 90% done with their construction plans. So they're working with Kyle's office and engineering, getting that going. So that should be starting to move its way through pretty soon as well. That's all I got.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
All right, monthly financial report.
Good afternoon, everyone. All right, so we're on the last quarter of the year, and we will be looking at July financials here. Okay, on your first slide here is your statement of activities, and we're looking at the current period column and the columns to the right. So July sales tax came in at $404,000 for the month, and that is a 9% increase over July 21. That gives you year-to-date collected at $3,952,000, and based on our original budget, we estimated you to be at $3,399,000. So we have met that and passed it by $552,000 for the year. We did receive August sales tax on Friday, and it came in pretty strong at $451,000, but that is only a 5% increase over August 21. Since that just came in, we're having to request the report from the comptroller's office just to see, is that just a one-off type thing? Because we've been averaging anywhere from 10 to 12% all year, and then just to have this lower period come in. But once we get that, we'll report that out. Your next revenue down there is your interest income. So July earned $6,842 for the month, $52.66 in the text pool account, and then $15.75 on your commercial paper. Let's see. We did want to highlight that interest income has earned $19,254 for the year so far, and The budget, we estimate you to be around 8,700 for the year, and we have surpassed that by 10,500. And of course, that's because interest rates have gone up this year, and as well as we invested in that commercial paper to bring in a little bit more. Okay, down to the expenditures, you see $113 in your supplies and miscellaneous line item. We just had some little small local meeting expense and some nameplates we purchased. We'd never have any activity in there, so that's the first time. The administrative fee to the city for $16,250, your final quarterly payment to KEDC for $78,125, and then the monthly debt transfer of $90,000. Then there was no activity in investments and projects, so July's change in net position is $226,000, and then year-to-date is $1,197,000. Okay, on to the cash flow. Same setup here. So first column on your cash flow is October through July activity, and down at the bottom row is your final ending cash balance of $3,932,000. And the column to the right of that is the final year-end estimates for revenues and expenditures. And then your last section is your fiscal year 23 proposed budget. And we did present your budget to council last Tuesday. The first reading on the ordinance will be the next council meeting on August 23rd, and then the second reading will be September 13th. Okay. And then just your last slide here is your financial analysis showing your project remaining balances and the sales tax comparison. And then your final chart down there is your investment balances with taxable $3,932,000. That is earning, that for the month of July, that earned 1.67%, and today it is at 2.28%. And then your investment is at 185. Okay, that investment there will mature in October, so we'll be closing that out and get those funds back. And that's all we have today.
All right, thank you.
Alrighty.
All right, next item on the agenda is the consideration and possible action for administrative services contract between the City of Kerrville and EIC. This SOP for last year, keep going?
This is pretty much SOP. Finance put $5,000 additional dollars in there, which, as you know, doesn't keep up with the cost of inflation at this point, but we didn't want to make too big of a jump in there. So instead of 195, that's going to be at 200 this year is the request from the city, from EIC for those administrative services. So that's EA, Kim, myself, City Secretary's office, City Attorney's office, engineering, development services, kind of the whole gamut of what we try to work through when we've got these projects coming down. And that's about all
Okay.
I've got.
Anybody have any
Take
questions about the increase or budget amount that's being requested? All right, I'll entertain a motion for approval of that.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? Nope, all those in favor raise your hand. All right, that approves. Mr. Hayes gets his raise.
Is that where it's going?
All right, next item on the agenda is the Economic Development Grant Agreement between KEDC and EIC.
And members of the board, you'll have to excuse me. My summary statement said approve this document, and I apologize because that wasn't my summary statement. I was cutting and pasting and going, and that was in there, and so I apologize. So, to surmise, the request from KEDC from EIC for this year's budget is a rollover from last year, so it's the same amount as you'll see. So this year they requested $312,500, and that's the same request that they have for the upcoming budget year. We talked regarding escalation clauses for the subsequent 2 years of this 3-year contract, and we wanted to provide them a little bit of cushion in case they wanted to request more funding. So we added that they could ask for up to 10% over prior year's budget for year 2, and then again for year 3, subject to the approval of the board. But we wanted to give them that latitude, so that's in there. For that portion. There's a couple of things. What you'll find in the exhibits, and some of you, if not all of you, were at the meeting, kind of the draft outline and summary at that joint workshop that we all had KEDC is working with a consultant to help them with their 3-year strategic plan. So for now, what we have are those findings, which don't have specific action items underneath them, which I think for some of you that have been on the board for a little while, that had been part of that prior 3-year agreement. What will happen is that they are finalizing that document for their updated 3-year strategic plan, but that's going to come in December. And so we have that summary outline, really kind of bullet points, a lot of what they're going after, which, as we've seen in the last couple of meetings, a lot of that is geared towards aviation, geared towards ag, geared towards quality of life projects, things like that. And so you have those statements for the Exhibit A, that draft plan right there. You do have their funding request letter, which really kind of gets into their metrics, what they were able to accomplish. That last slideshow that Teresa put out, I don't know that anybody else is going to have a cooler EDC pitch on what they did this summer than we did. If I can get the ESPN stuff to go every time I say something, I'm gonna be happy about that, Danny. And then the last thing you have in that exhibit is their budget laid out. So their request is $312,500 from us, $62,500 from the county, or the city, and KPUB. And with that, I'll turn it over for any questions.
Okay, anybody have any questions or comments about the KEDC budget?
I'd just like to say that I'm appreciative of the fact they're holding the line on expenses or on their requests from us, and especially about the outstanding job they've done. You guys have really stepped up, done a great job.
I had an opportunity to, and some of you may have also had the same opportunity with Gil, to sit down and kind of go over the budget in detail with them. And I kind of had the same thought, Danny, that, being very responsible about use of funds, but also kind of got the sense from Gil, maybe Teresa, you can speak to this, is that, there's changes coming in that KDC is continuing to evolve and kind of figure out, where the best opportunities are going to be. And there may be a mid-year visit to say, hey, we've got some new ideas and we'd like to see some additional budget funds to come and pursue those. So that will all be forthcoming at whatever time that comes together. But again, I think y'all are doing a great job and appreciate the efforts.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, I'll
Make a
entertain a
motion.
motion for that.
Make a motion, we approve the economic development agreement between KEDC and the Kerbal, Texas EIC.
Okay, got a motion? Second? All those in favor, raise your hand. All right, that's approved as well. All right, next item is the discussion of the EIC calendar for this next fiscal year, 2023.
I'm gonna have Keisha help me with this one a little bit. So, one of the things that last year at this time, we had discussed what everybody's schedules are gonna look like kind of coming into the holiday season. And so for November, December, and January, I think we had adjusted those meetings to be either we were gonna skip one or two of those, and then hold special called meetings if we needed to, which would be great. But, so that everybody can make preparations for holidays and things like that. Find some latitude for y'all's schedules in kind of November, December, and January.
I think we need to add President's Day in February.
And
As well.
February. And March, April, May, June, July, and August. No. Really those four, right? So you got Thanksgiving in November, right? Christmas, obviously. And then January's Martin Luther King, and then President's Day on February. So if y'all have any thoughts on that, if you prefer to go early, have a special called meeting, if we need one, and cancel those meetings, that's the purview of the board. So.
Keisha, can you just circulate among the board members proposed dates for this next fiscal year? And then folks can respond back to you if they've got any challenges, but let's do it that way instead of us trying to collaborate on finding dates. And if we've got two or more that can't make it on a particular date, let's look at rescheduling it. Do that.
I think we can also, I mean, I know in years past, if we've gotten into December and there's really nothing on the agenda that needs action items, and we can waive that meeting if we choose to do so. Is that correct?
We've done it in the past where we've canceled it or rescheduled it, whichever works best.
Yeah, what has been happening is EA will usually send me the agenda a week before, and if I see that there's, nothing on there, then I can tell him, let's pass on this one.
Let's don't meet just for the sake of meeting.
Right, no, I totally agree. I did not get that one, I did not get notice from him this last time, I just got Keisha's notice, so would you remind EA?
That's my fault.
That's now, yeah, if you'll just send it to me a week ahead of time, and then we can talk about whether we skip it or not, just depending on what we've got on the agenda.
I've got one, I guess, question, curiosity. Having sat up here for a number of years, it seems like we're in a real slump as far as request. Is nothing coming to the Go team even? Is there just nothing out there that's looking for funds from the EIC right now, or is it not getting through the Go team? But this kind of, I mean, we've had a couple of big ones, but typically we get multiple requests per year. We haven't had really very much at all this year.
I've been a part of one Go Team meeting which didn't come forward because it didn't meet the statute for the asks. I mean, I think Killdeer's kind of taking up a lot of bandwidth, right? Peterson's doing the same. It's not that there's not, I think a lot of the projects are being attended to. Y'all have already kind of addressed a lot of those things. I think in this upcoming budget year, we'll probably see some new asks, but I'd also think that some of those requests are slow rolling because of just the cost of all the things. I think there's a few folks that I've talked to out in San Antonio and Houston about what are they doing on some of their projects, and they're evaluating at this point.
Well, I've noticed that obviously the size of the ask is increasing fairly dramatically.
That part is true.
But I also don't want us to be just multi-million-dollar givers. I think if there's projects out there that meet the criteria and come forward, I think we need to be considering them. And I'm sure that would be the case.
There isn't anything that we've said no to that somebody could come ask you of. There hasn't been a ton.
That's fine.
That
It
have
seems a little
come
unusual to
to
me.
EIC, right? So there's some housing stuff that we've been talking through. Some of the other requests are coming through to council, not through EIC, because they don't meet the statutes.
Sure,
Right.
No, I understand. I guess I want to make that comment or observation that it just seems like we're in a little bit of a, again, I don't want the EIC to be perceived that if you're not coming in here with a big name behind you and a multi-million-dollar ask, that we're not here to listen to that request and make a decision upon that.
Well, I think we probably have some good conversations to have in the coming months before we get done with the budget about programs that EIC can be a party to. So we have some of that still to come before you.
Good.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Do we have anything that we need to discuss in executive session?
I don't really have a whole lot of new information. I mean, if I could steal 5 minutes of your time, not even. But there's not much of an update beyond last time.
Okay. All right, well, we're at that point in our agenda, so somebody want to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss workforce housing development projects under section 551, 071, 072, and 087 of the local government code.
I move. Second.
Motion and a second. All right, we're adjourned into executive session. You can just stay here. We are out of executive session at 4:39. And that's the last item on our agenda. Anybody else have anything else before we adjourn? Nope. Okay, we are adjourned.